Hello, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of L'Exclusive, the podcast hosted and produced by Paper Street Web Design and Marketing. As always, I'm your host, Nancy. It's nice to have you guys listening in again today. And as always, I have a frequent guest lately, Pete, our CEO and general guru. Thanks for joining me again today, Pete.
Hey, how's it going?
And then today, we're also have our VP and Internet Marketing Director, Alex. Now,
Hello.
with his expertise and Pete's expertise, we're going to go back to a topic that our clients can't stop asking about, and that is AI and search. Truthfully, probably at least several clients ask us about this every day. So we figured that our audience probably has the same questions that our clients are having. So we've done some podcasts about this before. So if you get a chance, check those out on YouTube or Spotify or anywhere else that you're listening to your podcasts. But today we're going to go a little bit further into SEO in terms of content and how that pertains to AI search and things like that. So I'll kick it off with probably the question that everyone wants to know. What exactly is winning in AI SEO right now?
Yeah, I can definitely start. And like you said, Nancy, it is definitively a question that we get all day, every day. AI is obviously the hottest topic, and it's definitely not going anywhere. And that's something that we here at Paper Street have like moved into head on, and something that we're kind of prepared to tackle and move forward with. So. But yeah, I mean, I would say what's winning, and to really answer as directly as possible, it's um, as I always like to say, it's almost like the goalpost, it hasn't just necessarily moved. It's almost like a different sport now, if you will. And arguably, in order to win today, you just have to accept the fact that search, as we all know it, is now an answer engine. That's really fundamentally what the difference is, and what that means is back in the, let's call it the olden days, right? Even a few years ago, everybody fought for high rankings and the blue links, if you will, so that people would get the click. Whereas now, I would argue heavily, the visibility in order to show up on AI overviews or ChatGPT or anything like that, that visibility depends on you actually being cited, not necessarily just being ranked. So, if AI, for example, just summarizes a topic and they don't mention you, they don't mention your law firm, and you're not that quintessential source, then you're effectively not being seen. You're effectively invisible. And so, so again, even if you're like technically number one, in the traditional page, you need to be that cited resource. One of the things that we were looking at on a data level, which I think is pretty staggering, is that about 70% of all the pages that are actually being picked up by AI agents, AI search engines, were actually content updates or cited updates that were updated over the last year, literally like within the last year. So 70% of pages that were cited were updated within the last year. So that basically means, like, again, on a human level, if somebody or a law firm like did one of those like ultimate guides, an ultimate guide of XYZ, but you did it in 2023, if that hasn't been touched, then in 2026, it's essentially not, it's old information. It's stats that weren't there. And if your competitor updated that 3 months ago, well, that's who then is going to get that mention. So that's really what that really boils down to. And there's, I think, a whole bunch of other features too that we could go on and on about. But that would be, I think, one of the highlights that we would definitely want to kind of focus on. So.
Yeah, I would focus on, even though you were indicating that 70% of the content needs to be updated in the past year, it needs to be new content, is the key. So AI goes out, basically indexes your website, indexes other people's websites. That's the level of knowledge it has. And what it's looking for is new information. So if you're rehashing the same content, the same practice areas, the same attorney bios on multiple sites, if you're talking about personal injury or estate planning or things like that, it's the exact same thing that other sites are saying. That's not really new information gain. You don't want to do that. You want to actually have new insights, unique data, information that you're publishing only. And that's where you're going to get cited more. First of all, you'll get cited naturally if you are publishing new guidebooks and studies and information that is, trend setting. For instance, there's a new AI copyright law that came down very recently about how they are allowing some collection of copyrights to be, copyrighted. That's a new thing. If you're in intellectual property, publish an opinion on that, publish your blog about that. You'll be the first one out there. That's new information gain. AI is going to reward that. You'll also get social media links to it. You'll get cited. You'll get other people might blog about it and so forth. And so that's what you want to do is have that original content on your website. If you're just rehashing, though, that's not going to cut it long term. I have seen, we'll get into this a little bit later, we have seen some studies where you'll bounce for the first few months, but then over time, your rehash content is just not going to rank high.
Yeah, to make that conversational, to add to Pete's point, it's almost like evergreen content, as we always talk about, is almost getting like a bit of a reality check, if you will, where, and not to use like coin terms, but like one of the things that I've said to a lot of our clients is freshness fuels authority. The fresher it is, the newer it is, the better that it is.
Yeah, and I think that's the main thing is you got to have the citations off site to rank high in AI. So like Alex said, you got to have the answer engine is the first thing. You gear your answers towards being the answer. Second is this freshness. The third is the originality. The fourth is your authority needs to live off site. So you need to have people linking to your content from social, we'll get into all the various directories shortly, but all the various other legal directors and things like that. And in those are the ones that are ranking higher in AI search. And I think the final thing is you need to have a human in the mix. You can't just be pumping out AI content. You can. I mean, you can set up scripts. You can set up a workflow where AI will produce 100 blog posts in an hour for you. But then you really need to have a human go in there and edit them and actually understand what the difference is and read through that. If you're just pumping out AI content, that it could work very short term, but what we've seen is it's going to fail long term because of it's not going to be fresh. It's not going to be new. It's just going to be rehashed content. So you need to have that human in the mix.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agreed.
Again, we just gave you a lot of information in perhaps the first 3 minutes of the episode, but
Yeah.
it really is that very much
Going
important.
fast.
If I had to quickly summarize all of that, I would just say, don't set it and forget it.
Right.
Short, you constantly need to have fresh content. It needs to be original content. It has to have a human voice, and it has to be refreshed every year to make sure that you're just not assuming that what you had a year ago will still stand the test of time.
Yeah.
So in essence, we've been saying this for SEO all along, but it's
Right.
changing its tune a little bit with AI because again, SEO, you could never set and forget it. We constantly nagged our clients about that. But now with AI, that's even more the case. So really
Yeah.
don't set it and forget it.
Actually, before we move on, that's one other point I have is there is a lot of similarity between SEO and AI SEO. AI SEO definitely has some different tactics you want to add into the mix in order to rank high in ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude and other Perplexity and things like that. But there are a lot of similarities, and what we found is clients that have traditionally ranked high in SEO are also ranking high in AI SEO. There are some aberrations, but if they've been cited, historically over the last 5 to 10 years, if they have quality content, if they have that unique freshness on a yearly basis, and they produce guidebooks that are up to date and keep them up to date, if they again have lots of citations, traditionally they're going to rank high in AI SEO. And there's things that you can do to make it better, and we'll get to that now, I guess.
Yeah. Let's dive right in. So we're talking about this, but what are some specific AI SEO tactics? What can we do specifically? Okay, we're talking about new and original content, but what else can we add to the mix to make sure that you get what you need to see?
Yeah, I'll kick us off on this one. So, third-party citations, biggest thing you can do is you need to have other websites citing you online. So that can be your content or your firm listed in listicles. We all love those best of categories lists and things like that. Get cited in those. You need to have Google Business Profile with your actual profile fully filled out, 100% with various categories set, locations set, everything like that. You need to have location citations. So if you've been ranking high in local search, that's a boon for you as well. Making sure your name, address, phone number is all set up. We found Reddit is a great source. You can't go and spam Reddit. No self-promotion mostly, but you can go out and answer questions on there. YouTube citation source, publishing YouTube videos on various things. Wikipedia, if you can get a listing, great. They're very hard to get. They're very good editor system there. LinkedIn as well. And then finally, again, comparison articles and more listicles and getting citations from other websites. But yeah, in general, listicles, Google Business Profile, Reddit, YouTube, Wikipedia, LinkedIn, and comparison articles are the biggest source for third-party citations.
Yeah, and I would add on to that, like reviews are huge. And again, this is something that
Yep.
we've been talking to a lot of our clients about, as you mentioned, Nancy, constantly. This goes back to even like old school SEO errors where there are so many coined terms that we'll probably throw out here in this podcast, but things like your reviews rank you. One of the other ones that I just read recently, which I really liked, is reviews, if we think of it, are machine readable trust signals. So think about it like that, right? So it basically shows the trust that someone has. So what that means in human terms is that when you see a firm that's like rising up and really gaining all these wonderful strong reviews, not only Google, but now the AI agents that are out there in the AI engines basically see this as like a risk averse company, meaning like the reviews that you're then getting are almost demonstrating that this is that trusted source. So again, what this collectively then adds up is it's not just the reviews that are on Google. It can be really what's like, again, another coin term that I've heard quite frequently is like the truth layer, meaning like how many layers of this protection can you get outside of just Google? So of course there's a whole bunch of industry ones that we recommend, but Google itself is obviously the gold standard. Everyone should, really get that set up, the Google Business Profile listing, aka Google Maps, all that. But then within law firms, it's like let's call them like the industry validators, the ones that are like the Avvo, the Martindells. And then of course there's other ones that are out there that are like, as we refer to them as like the consumer consensus, the Yelps of the world. So we're literally then, just as Pete was talking about, just the diversity. It's almost then you're getting the gold standard, but you're getting industry ones, but then you're also getting consumer ones. And those collectively add up to then make you this trusted resource. That's also another wonderful signal on a tactic side.
So often Alex and I have talked to clients in particular, and clients have always been hesitant to get reviews because of fear that if they prompt reviews, they'll leave a negative one. But what
Mhm.
is also really important to realize is that sometimes AI will display the reviews that you've gotten thus
Mhm.
far. So if you're hiding from collecting reviews, if you're not
Mhm.
collecting any, but then there's the person who leaves the negative one, because let's be real, people are more likely to complain than say something good, then that's all that will show up. So
Yeah.
as a result, you need to be prompting your clients along further to get those positive reviews, so that if the reviews do pop up, it'll be so much overwhelming that there's the good positive feedback below instead. So you'll see more of the 5-star reviews, more singing your praises and things like that. So because now that AI is looking at your reviews even more than just what people were already looking at, the pressure is even higher for you to go ahead and solicit reviews from the clients that you know are going to leave those good reviews, because otherwise you risk letting the audience speak for themselves. And while you hope your happy clients do that, you don't want the only voices to be heard are the ones that have something bad to say, false or otherwise.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The third thing, so after third-party citations and reviews, is new information. I talked about that briefly and to start the conversation off, but is your blog post new? Is it, unique? Or is it just about rehashing content? Don't rehash content. That's not going to get you ranked high long term. Now, I will say you can have attacked it to where it's a smaller city, a smaller geographic zone. No one else is doing that information, in your area. There you may be able to take a statewide term that no one's targeted yet, apply it to a specific city that you're only in and want to expand your practice in. That could work for a while. So if you're the only one out there, you're going to rank high. You're going to rank high in AI search for that area. But
Mhm.
over time, the rehashing doesn't work in major cities, major competitive areas. So what should you do? Case studies are great. New data points. Forming your own analysis and research. It takes time. This isn't something you can fully AI. But put together information about something that's, specific to your practice that only you would know. And that's the new information that AI wants to index.
Yeah, added on to that as well. And it's funny, not funny, but you both mentioned it on the SEO side, that what's known as the eat signals, the EEAT, and I actually talk about this pretty much in every client call that I have. But what it basically again means, and I'll keep saying this, I always say like in human terms. In other words, like let's take it down from like the really kind of granular digital marketing terminology, and kind of talk about it in a way that we all understand. What that again essentially means is what EAT stands for, EEAT. It stands for experience, expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And so, really, for like a law firm, that actually harkens back to what both Nancy and Pete were both just saying about how the fundamental principles of what we do on SEO apply on AI. It basically is just, again, and what we're talking about now are the further tactics that we can then take. But this is almost like the core. It's almost like the foundation. And I would argue heavily for like a law firm, it's not, these aren't just like buzzwords. It's not just a key term. Like what it is it's like, think of these things as like filters. So if you can show your experience, if you can show that expertise, if you can demonstrate that authoritativeness, if you can again show your trustworthiness, like we were just talking about in reviews and all of that, then that's what Google, but now AI uses to decide that you're the safe recommendation, quote unquote. And so these are like core fundamental principles that we then build off of. And I would again argue heavily that this is like something that every law firm can easily do. It's like one of those things where again we get asked like, well, how do I do that? How would I demonstrate that? Attorney bio pages with credentials, bar admissions, case results, with like matters, and case results matter a lot here, I would argue. Again, that's showing that expertise, that's showing that authoritativeness, that's showing that experience. So the more that we can do that, the more that we can demonstrate that, and then going back to what we were just talking about, the more that we can show that on a fresh, new, timely level, the more cases that are won, the more cases, that the case results that we can then add that are latest and greatest, the more that that helps that signal.
Yeah, that's excellent information. Is that's the unique information that you can put out that I was talking about. So the bio pages, the bar admissions, and case results.
Yeah.
Some other things that are not unique that you just need to kind of have on the pages to show that you're trustworthy and and have the authority is FAQs. So this is making sure that you have the relevancy part of the algorithm, including AI, is answering questions that people commonly have about your practice area. Put those on the page. They don't have to be the first thing on the page. They don't have to be the second thing on the page. You can mix them into the content a little bit. You can have a FAQ section near the bottom of the page, but have that content on your page on your practice areas. So many times I've seen pages that may have like I don't know 400, 500, 600 words a page about a practice area. We add in FAQs to a page, suddenly starts ranking high. It's not rocket science. It's just pretty easy. You can generate this content pretty quickly, either through your actual knowledge and expertise,
Yeah.
or through AI. And these are common questions. You can use AI to generate a topic list. So that way you can spend, instead of spending 15 minutes brainstorming, you can spend a minute and a half brainstorming ideas and then just start typing out answers. And you have AI clean up the content. And put that on the page. Have it schema ready so that it's indexed better. And we'll talk about technical on page in a second, but making sure all the topics are answered is one of the keys.
I was gonna say, does everybody want like a cool pro tip? What I always like tell all of our clients, Google spoon feeds us. Everybody says like, well, what am I gonna do like FAQs on? Like, what are the questions that I'm gonna ask? If anybody does a Google search, regardless of what that Google search is, like with a keyword phrase that they target, Google comes up with what's called people also ask. Those questions are what people are also asking. So if you put in your practice area and you put in your keywords, those are the questions that people are literally putting in there that they're asking. What's also cool about that is there's usually 4 questions that are there. If you click on the last one and close it, it adds 2 more. If you click on that and it keeps going and going and going. So ultimately, you can then cherry pick out questions that apply to what you're talking about. Those are what people are frequently asking. Google's literally telling you, take those, grab that content, answer it in your way, answer it in timely, answer it with your 2026 response.
What I want to say is that, a lot of times clients tend to get a little iffy about the whole FAQs thing because they feel like it's gimmicky. I've got clients that are like, oh, I don't want to answer that. It's so cheesy, blah, 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 blah. And they come up with all these reasons why they don't want to have FAQs. But it's exactly what Alex just pointed out. It's people also ask. So by
Right.
not having FAQs, you're actually avoiding what people are physically typing in. They are physically
Right.
typing in these questions to Google, they are
Right.
typing them into AI. So by not answering these and not having them on the site, you're basically saying, I don't want people who are looking for me to look for me because you don't have that information. So what
Yeah.
I tell our clients is these questions are getting asked. So in order to not make it cheesy or make it pain you to have this kind, have an authentic response. Don't give a canned response. Don't give something that ChatGPT would have regurgitated in 2 seconds. Add personality, add an example, talk, actually answer the question in a way that will respond and show up in Google and AI, but
Mhm.
make it a little bit more personal to you. Because if you have that authentic voice to the FAQs, that's just a further signal to why your answer to those FAQs is better than what other people have out there.
Yeah, great point. So I would say another tactic, again, because we're talking about some of the tactics that AI looks at and that AI SEO looks at. Really, again, and I don't think that there's necessarily this bears mentioning, it's like not necessarily like a sequential order that we're going through. I would say these are all like compounding items, so that they all kind of apply. But another one that I would add in there that's a huge one at this point is social engagement. So, obviously there's social platforms and they're increasingly being scraped by AI. I mean, they're basically looking for that signal. Are you active? Is there helpful participation? Are you building out citations from these? And again, I remind all of our clients, they are social media networks, right? They're a network. So network within there. It's, utilize every one of them. There was a study that we were literally just reading, the entire internet marketing team here at Paper Street. Some of the two main sources that are actually being picked up on that social media engagement side are Reddit and LinkedIn, believe it or not, which is great because LinkedIn, as you and I, Nancy, have been kind of telling all of our clients forever, is a huge source on the legal industry side. So it's probably one of the top performers on a social outlet. So, but there's several others. The YouTube side, which YouTube and videos is probably an entirely other topic that we can talk about. But as we all know, the rise of YouTube Shorts. Wikipedia is actually maybe even included in that because again, if we all think of it, that's a trusted source. It's a source of information, but they all collectively combine in. But fundamentally, the point is to just continually go and be active. Again, 2026 freshness is kind of the theme of what we're talking about.
Yeah, so once you have all these signals out there, so once you have the third-party citations, the reviews, the new information on your website, all the EAT signals, FAQs, social engagement, you want to make sure that your site is technically optimized still. So this can be done by a good developer. It can be done by AI hints as well. Ultimately, you'll need someone to get into the code. AI is not that good at, I wouldn't trust AI to go into our code base to start editing things yet. Maybe in a few years, but you'll want to have safeguards in place. You don't want to break your site, of course. But you can definitely get an AI report. We produce reports now automatically. They'll show, what's wrong with your site, what's right with your site. Things you need to look at, title tags, of course, meta description tags, H1 tags, H2 tags all matter. The actual text on the page, schema. Do you have organized lists that AI can scan? Do you have tables that they can scan? Do you have the FAQs above? Are they put into the schema I talked about? Do you have office addresses? There's a whole checklist. We can run a report, give us a call. We have free audits, and it will kick out a report of your top 5 pages, and then we'll go from there and then apply it there. But you definitely need to still have a technical on page because you can have all this information out there on your website, and if you have barriers for AI to scan it, you're not getting scanned, you're not getting indexed. So.
Right.
It's the same thing that I just said, but I'm going to repeat it because it's important. Don't just set it and forget it. So don't just think that my website's 12 years old. I haven't updated it forever, but I have good content. So I'll show up in AI and things like that. You do need those technical tune-ups. You do need those checks every now and then because technology changes. And I give this analogy all the time, and I'm stealing from Alex because Alex is the king of analogies, but maybe I could be the princess. But what I like to say is that you wouldn't just drive a car for years and years and years and years without going for a tune-up and oil change and things like that. And that's really how you should see your website. Websites, especially when they're made like a good quality website, Paper Street websites. We're great. We know that, and we hope you feel the same way. But the point is that there doesn't mean that there's not going to need to be a tune-up down the line, because technology is changing, the world is changing, AI is changed. So every once in a while, if you are putting the time into your content and your tech and your work and things like that, just don't forget, oh, maybe I should check to make sure my website is performing, so that this content isn't just going on a site that needs some help. So again, theme, don't set it and forget it in the AI world.
Really important on the refresh date, Nancy. One pro tip, I'm going to steal Alex's idea about pro tips, is the publish date change. WordPress is great about this. Anytime you publish an article, whether it's a blog post or a page, it will date it. If you're updating it, update your publish date. So, we have an article that we've written in 2024, needs to be updated. We updated it this year. It's the new publish date is March 26, 2026. It goes online. It signals to Google the article's been updated. You can, if you want to be completely transparent, put originally right in the actual text of the page near the top, originally published on January 4th, 2024, but don't have that as the actual date in the system, and update it. And so you can have that. That's the best of both worlds. So you told it, here's an old article from 2 years ago. We updated on this date. Same thing with title tags. Go in. If your title tag says it was 2025 best practices of estate planning, change it to 2026. Do that. Simple things. So matters a lot, though.
And absolutely. Yep. And just to kind of wrap up this first part of this podcast that we're doing right now, I'm going to answer our team to answer some really important short FAQs. See, we're even doing it ourselves. There are a couple FAQs that we want you to hear the answers to, because these are what our clients are asking us the most. All right. We've answered this one actually in our last podcast where we addressed AI and SEO, but let's have a very quick answer here to this. And hopefully you already should be able to answer this if you've been listening to what we've been saying. But is traditional SEO dead?
Yeah, you just took the words right out of my mouth. It's everything that we've been talking about here, hopefully has demonstrated that SEO is not dead. Not at all. Not even remotely close. And if anything, I would argue heavily to the point that I just made about the EAT signals, the EEAT. This is the fundamental foundation that this is all built off of. So no, it's not dead, but as again, we've demonstrated here, it's evolved. So, while again, keywords matter, what people are searching for matters, it's more about like that intent of matching up. And then again, the technical side, like Pete just went over, going literally looking at how everything is matching up, and then again, a compounding effort of how everything is kind of accumulatively all working in sync. Again, it's just the traditional SEO, I think at this point, like I mentioned, provides that foundation. But SEO for AI, or AEO, which is answer engine optimization, is giving a little bit more of a visibility in summaries to what people are looking for. But in short, no.
All right, here's another mailbag question. Do backlinks still matter in 2026? And just to clarify, in case you haven't heard this term before, we hope you have, backlinks are links to your site from other websites. So do they still matter?
Yes, definitely. The actual sites matter a little bit different for AI. So as previously we discussed, getting a link from Wikipedia has always been the greatest one to have. Reddit has come on strong, LinkedIn, YouTube, signals, a lot of more social signals are being put into their listicles. But overall, you want to have backlinks, and you need to have citation sources in order to rank high in both traditional SEO and also AEO.
I'm going to use one of my famous analogies, like Nancy just said. So if we think of your campaign as a rocket, taking flight, getting off the ground, getting exposure, getting out into the universe, to Pete's point on the link building side, think of it as the fuel within the rocket. The more that we have, the better quality, the higher octane, the better burn that we have on that rocket.
Oh. On that note, on our website, a little self promo here, we have a list of like the top 50 to 100 backlinks that you need to be getting. So just run through that checklist and you can download it. It's there. It's a nice checklist of everything to get from directories to other signals. So
yeah.
Yeah, and I wanted to chime in on that too. Again, not necessarily a promotion for Paper Street, but it's important to know that a lot of our clients have tried like those link building agencies online where they're like, oh, I paid, $150 and got 300 at backlinks. It was so great. But it's important to realize that they have to be quality backlinks, and we can't stress that enough. Quality, quality, quality. And if you think you've gotten enough backlinks, or you use these, too good to be true agencies, it's very easy to check what exactly your backlinks are and how successful they are. Like, you can look with certain tools, like PaperStreet has a tool. We're happy to show you. If you're got a backlink with a domain authority score of 90, fantastic. That's a wonderful backlink. But we too often, our clients will come to us and they're like, oh, I use this agency, I got 300 backlinks, and I go and show them, and there's like 12 pages of backlinks that are worth like 3 or 2, and it's like, no, that was unfortunately, we have to tell them that was a waste of your money, because that's not a true helpful backlink. It's a backlink for the sake of a backlink, and at the end of the day, it's more spam than good. So again, another thing, if you think you have the good backlinks or you're not sure, touch base with us or another great agency, because like I said, they'll be happy to do a quick check for you to show you what's quality, what's not.
Yep. High octane.
Exactly. All right. Another very important question we get a lot. Okay. How is voice search impacting SEO now? And again, we've been getting this question a lot over the years, and the answer really hasn't changed here. And if anything, it goes back to exactly what we were saying. It has to be your natural voice. So if people are using the voice to ask these questions, 9 times out of 10, they're speaking the way they would speak to a colleague or a friend or something like that. They don't have their professional voice on and things like that. So it's like, how do I do this? How does this work? Key phrases that are normal, human nature, things like that. So in other words, you need to have your FAQs on your pages and your content written in a way that matches how someone is actually asking about for this legal information, not how you think they should be asked. So that's why we always say, like, when you're writing content for law firm websites in particular, have a non-attorney, whoever that may be, your spouse, your child, your friend at work, anybody, reread what you've written, because if it doesn't come off in natural speak, you're not getting that good audience that may be using voice search, that probably isn't trying to sound like a PhD person when they're asking a question. They're just asking it as it comes to them in a natural flow. So always keep your content in a natural flow, and don't put on your lawyer hat too much. I mean, as much as we do that, I mean, Pete and I are attorneys, we know you want to sound professional and things like that, but you have to be engaging with your public. You have to be speaking to a way in them that they can actually understand, and that will only help you appear in search further. All
Cool.
right. And last but not least, a lot of clients get confused with this, but we'll try to put this in as easy a terms as possible. But what is the role of schema markup in AI SEO now?
Yeah, this is going to get a little nerdy, so feel free to tune out. But basically, it's behind the scenes code that you need to have on your website and pages. So to get really technical, it's JSON code. It's going to start with some squiggly brackets and then talk with about, have fields labeled basically like content, type, address, telephone, URL, and have like a colon, and then actually have your data. So it's when you look at it, you'll be able to read it as a human. The search engines can read it, AI bots can read it. But basically, it's specific data, so they don't have to parse all your text on your page. You can just tell it exactly what the page is about. So in the beginning levels, you're talking local business, so your address, telephone, operating hours, price range, stuff like that you can put in there. If you want to do a bio, you could have each attorney can have a schema about themselves, job title, alumni, name, things like that. For your professional service pages, your practice areas, you can have service type, areas served, descriptions, FAQs. Every single FAQ should have its own question and answer. And then you can get really fancy if you want to. You can have ratings, review counts, best of ratings, and stuff like that on a per page basis, to where you get some little gold stars and things like that. So it's code. Talk to your web developer about it. They can add it to any page. They can add it to the overall website. Should be part of the base build. Yeah, it's really good stuff to have.
All right. Well, we unpacked a lot to this, and we hope that you were able to follow along with us. And hopefully we touched upon the things that you've been wondering about, because like I said, we get these questions from our clients day in and day out, because AI is on everyone's mind. And if it hasn't been on your mind, it probably should be. All right. So thank you, Pete and Alex, for joining us today. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And we will have a part 2 to this podcast discussing a little bit more about AI and content, coming back sooner than our usual episodes. So stay tuned, everyone. Thanks for listening.